everybody. Clark Tanner from Thrive Physical Therapy and Wellness in Richmond, Virginia, and this is Strive to Thrive, your weekly podcast designed to help improve your health, increase your success level, and help you thrive in life.
Yeah, my name is Cody. I'm a Thrive Physical Therapist as well. Today we want to talk to you about a pretty important issue that comes up to us quite often, and that issue is typically, how do I sleep well? We have a lot of people who come in who are concerned about nagging pains or reoccurring injuries associated with sleep positioning or not getting enough sleep because they're uncomfortable throughout the night. So we're hoping to spread some sound advice on that and hopefully shed some light on proper sleep positioning techniques, and then a little bit of information about how to sleep well and maybe how to set yourself up to sleep well throughout the night, regarding not only the mechanics of it, but also regarding kind of habits that lead you into that position. So I was going to ask Clark, before we get rolling too far, if he's had any instances where someone's come in and asked him about sleep positioning recently and how you address that.
So absolutely. So I'll start with a little story, because this happened not all that long ago. I had a gentleman, a patient of mine that I was working with early on in the process, and he goes, yeah. Actually, it was an initial exam when he said this, but he goes, yeah. He goes, I knew I was getting older when instead of sport-related injuries, I started getting sleep-related injuries. And I got a good laugh, because about a month prior to this, I actually had a shoulder issue that I got because of sleeping with it tucked behind my head, and it had been bothering me for a little while. And so I was in the category of having a sleep-related injury, and hadn't thought about it like that until he kind of said it. So I thought that was kind of funny. But in all seriousness, having sleep-related issues are really, really common. So in other words, an injury, and then at night, just because of different positions, you put stress on it, and then you tend to aggravate it. Neck issues are particularly common. Shoulder issues are particularly common, because particularly lying in a side-lying position, we put a fair amount of stress on our shoulders and our neck. And so there's some really cool tricks in terms of how to help solve that. But from a practical standpoint, and we say this in therapy all the time, if you're not sleeping well, then you're not healing well. And if you're not getting sleep, not only the healing processes don't work, but things tend to hurt more. And there's lots of really interesting research behind how important quality sleep is, just from things like weight loss, body composition, weight loss, chronic pain states, and then there's a number of medical conditions that actually are derived from chronic sleep deprivation. And one of the interesting ones is even Alzheimer's, like some different conditions that they used to think sleep problems were part of what came along with the problem, and what they have recently found out is that lack of sleep and a sleep issue is part of a precipitating factor for why they get it at all. So it's a big deal. It's a really big deal from a physical therapy standpoint. But what we want to talk a little bit about today is some recommendations on how to get a little bit better sleep and kind of rein it in a little bit. So
yeah, well, I mean, and just kind of touch on what you talked about briefly. It's it's a precipitating factor for a lot of these illnesses that we see. That be cortical illnesses associated with Alzheimer's or whatever, maybe your dementia. But we also see that it's a precipitating factor for other bad choices that lead to other health factors. So poor sleep habiting and poor sleep can lead to poor nutrition, poor exercise habits, poor engagement with your family and friends, and sometimes these things can cascade into a plethora of problems that can arise from poor sleep. So we know that it's obviously very important as a whole.
Yep.
And one of the things that we like to address, being mechanical specialists for the human body, is how to get yourself in a proper position that lets you sleep longer throughout the night, and then hopefully wake up more comfortable.
Absolutely.
And if someone comes to me and says, hey, I wake up and I have issues, now this can get very diagnostic. So obviously, if I'm looking at an individual who's having issues, I'm going to spend more time focusing on what their individual problems are and how does that relate. This will be a little bit more general, because we're not going to speak case by case.
Sure.
The big idea of it is, if someone comes to me and says, "Ooh, I'm having trouble sleeping," the biggest thing you have to recognize is, how do you go to sleep? Like, where do you start? Right? Which is, I think, is very important, because if someone starts in a wrong position, you're going to wake up in a wrong position. That's really how it works. So you want to get somebody in a good position when they start. And then you also want to make sure that if someone has one side that tends to be affected, let's say it's my right shoulder, for instance, we'll play off the shoulder idea. You have to figure out how to offload that right shoulder, or at least how to deter your sleep self from finding that position, as much as you can. You're not in full control of that, but you can definitely deter yourself from finding that position more often. Yeah. So what kind of ways do you help? What kind of things do you help teach somebody to do that? Or what kind of thought process around either propping or positioning?
Oh, absolutely. So there's a couple different parts of that. One is depending on what is going on with someone's issue, then sometimes certain positions are better than others. Like an easy example, if you've got a neck issue or a back issue, we don't necessarily encourage stomach sleeping. A lot of times it's easier to fall asleep on the stomach for some people, but we want to encourage and maybe educate people around on what's a good position for them. If it's a shoulder, just like you alluded to, you want to get them to where they don't sleep on that shoulder. So sometimes, like if you have a spouse and the tendency is to always be on one side, well then sometimes switching sides, going to another side of the bed.
It's risky.
Although that's always not an easy sell.
I've never had an easy conversation around switching sides of the bed. I feel like that is the equivalent of asking someone to change their entire routine throughout the entire day. But I understand that. It's very helpful. It's just a hard thing to stomach sometimes.
If you have a cooperative spouse around, that can be, like I said, can be a bit of a tough sell. But the easy way to explain is sometimes just simply picking a different side, and then using pillow props. A lot of times, what we try to teach is around the concept of neutral positioning and kind of getting pillows supported so that we keep the body position in kind of a middle zone that tends to be comfortable. So just how to use pillows well. Lots of times you can unload things well with, like easy way to explain is like if you're on your back, you want to have pillows up on. There are some more intricacies in terms of how to do this, and we'll put some links in terms of specifics around a little more detail as to what I'm alluding to. But essentially, putting pillows underneath your legs when you're on your back, so that relaxes your hip flexors and doesn't pull on your back as much, and so that makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
And then also just the timing of it. Certainly, mattress can be as a foundation, having a really good quality mattress. And I have some different opinions on that, but I'd be curious on what do you like to tell people from a mattress?
Yeah, that's a big question that pops in the clinic often. Most people, I think, initially when they start having trouble sleeping, the first assumption is hopefully it's my pillow because that's cheaper to replace, right? And so we have that conversation. Which regarding a pillow, I tell people kind of the same similar thought process regarding a mattress. So they're kind of one and the same, but the process is. People are like, oh, is it too soft? Is it too firm? Well, I tell people usually firm is a little bit better than too soft because we're looking for support when we sleep. Primarily, we want something that feels good, right? It shouldn't be a board. I don't want you sleeping on concrete. But at the same time, it should be supporting your structure, not just you sinking into it too deeply. Because then you lack that structural support, and then things start to ache. So I usually say for a pillow, the things that I like to say is moderately firm, something that's comfortable to lie on but doesn't sag too much. The other thing I try to people to avoid from is very dense foam mattresses and pillows or toppers for your mattress. And this is just a tip, but the problem with foam structure is that it holds a shape, right? So it holds a contour. So let's say I fall asleep on the back, and the back of my head, if it's a pillow, is supported by a dense foam pillow. I'm not going to give you name brands, but so that's the case. Then when I turn inevitably through the night, now all of a sudden that contour no longer fits me or supports me well. So I have different contact points. And that can create changes in your neck and positional changes at your shoulders that can end up leading to some pain.
Right.
And I would say the same goes for a mattress. If you're laying on your side and then you lie on your stomach or back throughout the night, those contours now change. You still have this definition that you've created over the night, and now it's going to be more uncomfortable and more uneven.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
So we have a guest bed that is, my general category when I advise people to go look when they're checking different. I tell them to go to a brand name, a well-stocked brand name mattress company, and then search in the firm category first. Because we actually have one that is a little bit on the softer side, and when you first get in that thing, like it feels good. You get out, it's like, ooh, this is nice, but then, after a while, my back hurts. I would have no back pain, and I go to sleep on it, and then I have back pain. So that's certainly not the characteristic you want from your mattress. And then, so firm is very good. Also, when you're purchasing a mattress, whatever you get something that is able to be exchanged. It is not necessary to spend $5,000 on a mattress. If you get I tend to like a spring with a cushion on top. Like I don't like foam mattresses either. For the same reason, like if you move around, then
Yeah, they change. They're not dynamic enough. It takes too long to create an imprint for you to actually be able to move and shift at night. Especially if you're someone who's notorious for tossing and turning.
Yeah.
I would say that's not a good option for you. If you're a very sound sleeper typically and you don't have an issue, you just need a new mattress or it's worn out, it might be okay for you. I would still probably hesitate to recommend it.
And we all have to move around. You have to find at least, we try in therapy to find at least 2 positions that a person is comfortable in and knows how to support themselves with pillows and all that, because you have to pressure relieve for circulatory reasons. And I actually don't like the other little thing about the when they kind of wrap around you and contour it, they make me feel hot. Like
it's just not very comfortable.
So I I don't like to name too many names, but I'm not a big Tempur-Pedic.
Where my head always goes. That's the big brand foam mattress, from my understanding. There are more out there now, but they're expensive, and I would say as a material, it's a neat idea, but I would say from a physical standpoint, and the actual practice of sleeping, it's not mechanically very sound.
Right. I have a question for you, because we get this all the time too, do you recommend anything real fancy with a head pillow or neck pillow, and what is an important dimensional thing to consider when we're talking about a pillow for your head?
Yeah, well, I think, so when it comes to like the head pillow, which is kind of standard across the board, I would say that really what I'm looking for is neutral alignment. So anytime that you're having pain associated with sleeping, we typically see 2 things. Either you're finding your end range throughout the night, or you're putting excess pressure through your joints throughout the night due to lack of support.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's an end range problem, meaning that you have stiffness in your neck joints and you're hanging out with your head tilted to one side, or if it's tilted backward throughout the night too long, it can cause pain. It's just like if I was to take your finger and pull it behind your wrist. Over 2 or 3 hours, you probably really want me to stop, right? And I would say the same thing regarding your neck if you're going to be sleeping. So really it's about finding neutral alignment. So I don't know if I would recommend this a neck collar pillow or anything like that. You just want a pillow that, one, is firm enough that when you lie on it, the weight of your head doesn't sink so deeply that you have what we call a bulge or a pooch at the base of your neck. That tends to push your head in extension, your neck into an extended position, which can cause pain over time. So you want a pillow that's firm enough that you don't have these big, massive contours or big sinking in the pillow from your head. And then you want something that's large enough that you can move around on, and it's not going to give you no comfort. I've seen these kind of really narrow foam brick pillows that have, I just think they're not maneuverable enough for most people. And so you can end up halfway on the pillow, or you can end up with your chin tucked to your chest, and it can cause just excessive neck strain over the course of the night. But along those lines, is there anything else you'd recommend?
Yeah, absolutely. So to piggyback on what he just said, the concept of like a dimension this way for side sleeping, a lot of times you need to make up this distance. Okay. So sometimes a thicker pillow for side sleeping is more important, particularly if you're broad shouldered, than on your back. Whereas what he's trying to describe to you is pillow support here. You don't want the pillow to be so thick it pushes your head forward where you're sleeping like this. That becomes uncomfortable after a while. Or if it creates a fulcrum, or it's not big enough where around the thoracic spine creates this, right? So we want to be more neutral. This is what we call more neutral, okay? So the thicker pillow for side sleeping, sometimes a thinner pillow for on your back. So sometimes you have to, depending on what position you're trying to shoot for, sometimes there's variability. So you have to be aware of that. And then the other thing particularly important for side sleeping is a lot of times, most people know about the pillow support between the knees, but here's the thing. If you don't have any support to the chest, frequently what happens is we're on our side, the weight of our upper body pulls us forward, and we end up a little extended and rotated. Well, that's a position when you have a sensitive neck that doesn't always feel so good. So you can support here, and you've got like a sort of a body pillow that goes all the way to your chest, and you got this right, well, then the neck stays in more what you're describing, which is neutral. So anyway, it's all around trying to figure out what the person's issues are, finding the good position, and then being able to support around it and educating people about how to find what's a kind body position.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, I think you treat sleeping like you treat posture. The only difference with sleeping is you don't have a conscious effect of it. So you have to do things that are a little more passive. You have to support your body more. You have to give yourself and don't people who get worried about body pillows and too much pillow support, what my spouse think, what my significant other feel like. If it gives you more sleep, I guarantee that person will probably enjoy your presence more because you'll have more energy, you'll be less cranky, and you'll feel better. So If it's an issue of oh, I don't want to sleep on these pillows because it makes me feel old, or makes me feel frail, or I don't know whatever it may be. Sure. The key is support your body. You're going to spend 8, potentially, hopefully, between 7 and 8 hours in that position. You wouldn't want to sit in a car for 7 to 8 hours without bad support, right? You want to be aware of that. So think of sleeping as the same amount of detriment if you're in a bad or unsupported position as it would be if you were to spend 8 hours in your car with a poor seat support or poor position. So you don't want to downplay the effects of poor sleep, because mechanically speaking, it has the same amount of force put on you that you would if you were doing something else that's posturally disruptive. So
it's a low stress accumulated over time. And I know I've had a back issue in the past, and there was a time when I could not sleep if I didn't use some of the pillow props and some of the things that we commonly teach.
Well, I think an injury just it almost makes you more aware of how important that is, and then it makes you aware of how much stress goes through you when you sleep. It's not huge amounts, like as Clark said, it's low load, but it's that prolonged duration that tends to build over time and create inflammation and aggravation and all those things if we don't address it or support well.
And I also find that around the lines of setting up pillow props and things like that, when early on the stages, when you're really trying to get somebody to heal and they're very acutely irritated, you need to do absolutely everything you can to get them positioned as well as you possibly can, and setting it all up, hugely important. But as time passes and the sensitivity goes down, sometimes you can get away with starting to take away, reducing the level of support. So it's not like, sometimes it's a means to an end to get you over the acute period, and then over time it becomes less sensitive, and then you don't have as much problem.
Well, I think the key is if you don't have pain and you're sleeping fine, there's no need to change it. Right? If I'm having issues, I'm having pain that happens consistently when I wake up in the morning or out through the night, you should do something active to make a change in that pattern, so that way we're not leading into the same over repetitive stresses time and time again. So I think when it comes down to our 3 big takeaways from today's lecture, or today's talk with each other, the things we want to talk about would primarily be that mechanical stresses of sleep tend to come about from prolonged positioning in poor end-range posturing, right? So it's really a result of just trying to avoid your end-range mechanical stressors, or trying to avoid too much pressure from the back of your spine or a lack of support. If you can avoid those stresses, and typically you can do pretty well by that, and that can help you sleep a lot more comfortably. And the ways to do that are typically passive supports from pillows, picking the right mattress, finding the right pillow for you, and just making sure that whenever you try to change, sits well with you throughout the night. And so as you probably have experienced and talk on a little bit, it's not always an immediate change all the time, right?
No, it isn't. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. Depends on how acutely irritated, but sometimes it's a cumulative effect. So for sure.
So it takes some time to kind of feel you may see mechanical changes that are positive before you maybe feel 100% better with your sleep positioning. So don't be discouraged if you change some sleeping habits and you don't feel miraculously 100% better the next morning. It's not typically that cut and dry. But in regards to that, I think the best person and the best equipped person to take care of your sleeping needs or mechanical needs is a physical therapist. I know a lot of people who have sleeping issues go get a sleep study, or they get some kind of maybe get medicinal help in order to help encourage more sleep. While those options may be beneficial, I'm not discouraging those options entirely. I feel like a physical therapist is equipped to assess you mechanically and then hopefully give you some better non-medicinal options to help kind of make you feel better and sleep better. And if anything, it'll just give you more control over what you're capable of, making yourself feel better with your control, which is highly helpful. So if you're in the Richmond area, we highly recommend coming in, stopping in, letting us know how we can help you, giving us a phone call, or visiting our website here at Thrive PT, and then we'll hopefully take care of you there, or whatever area you may be listening from. If there's a physical therapist in your area nearby, feel free to visit them as well.
And what I would say is if you want some resources, we have some really nice stuff on our website and in blogs, and then also on our Facebook, we put things out all the time, and around some really good details in terms of how to from a practical way to get more sleep. But knowing how important it is, massively, massively important for many things.
Don't suffer through poor sleep. There's no need. It's it's not necessary, and it's a much more enjoyable world around you, and people enjoy your company a lot more when you have enough sleep, and then you can kind of go throughout your day happy and healthy. So I think that's it for today's Strive to Thrive podcast. We appreciate you guys for listening. Feel free to leave some comments below about things that helped you get more sleep, or any techniques that you've learned from physical therapists that's helped you get a more full night's rest. So, all right, guys, thanks for joining in. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening,
bring some
guys.
more content to you next week.
Take care. Keep driving.